This video features a repair on a 2012 Ford Fusion with a 2.5 liter engine. This video goes through the complete AC system diagnosis, replacement of TXV, and replacement of the engine cooling fan and replacement of AC condenser. So my 2012 Ford Fusion air conditioner is not working. The AC compressor doesn't engage. So here are the symptoms. Inside the cabin of the vehicle, the climate control blows air, but not cold air. Under the hood, the AC compressor clutch will not engage. And on the side note, I have replaced the evaporator temperature sensor before. I thought that was the case, is what it was. So, I looked in the workshop manual, and the workshop manual defines the AC compressor clutch will only be engaged by the PCM if all the following conditions are met. So the HVAC module is set to a mode which provides an AC request to the PCM via the instrument cluster. So basically that just means that the power switch needs to be on, of course. And the evaporator discharge air temperature sensor is reading an acceptable temperature. So inside the cabin, it needs to be 36 degrees or above. The AC pressure transducer is reading an acceptable pressure in the high side of the refrigerant system. So pressure has to be an acceptable. This is on the high side, 215 to 265. That's about, on a hot day, what that thing needs to be. AC compressor relay is switched to the closed position by the PCM. So that's the battery relay. Engine coolant temperature is not excessively high. So just as long as it's below 253 degrees Fahrenheit, you should be good. And as long as the PCM has not detected a wide open throttle, so as long as the pedal's not to the metal, AC clutch should be engaging. Looks like my evap temperature sensor works fine. It's reading 43 degrees Celsius. And then if I click on the AC, you hear it click on, and you see it go down. So that's working. I'll turn off the AC. And you'll see it go up. So the evap temperature sensor is working just fine. Okay, so this is what happens when I go to AC. Look at that AC pressure climb. It just keeps going and going. And then as you see right here, I took a significant amount of coolant out of here, and it's still just, the pressure just builds and builds until it gets so high that it shuts off. I'm just going to turn it off now, the AC in it. And I once had it on so long that the blow-off valve blew a bunch of coolant in my engine bay. So we know the AC pressure is not normal. So that is the culprit. So that's what we need to focus in on. So let's throw some gauges on and check. So look at that high side. That high side just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. The low side remains constant. The low side's about 35 psi. But look at that. It just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. If it gets too high, there's a blow-off valve that's installed on the compressor. It's to protect it from getting too high. I'm going to pause that so it gets a little bit clearer. So if it gets to 500 psi, that AC pressure relief valve is going to blow off, and that thing is going to look like Fast and the Furious right here. So RIP Paul Walker, but my blow-off valve blew just like this. Look at that. See, just like that, it came off the side. So that was the PSI getting above 550 and blowing off. So I was suspecting that there was some sort of blockage in the line. So because why would the pressure is just abnormally high. Even when I took out a lot of the coolant, the pressure still just kept going up to abnormally high levels. And so this is the low pressure side right here. So the low pressure side was at 35, which would be right in here, which is within the normal suction pressures. And so we'll move right along to the high side. The high side, on the other hand, so 265, this is ambient temperature is important. So this is 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It's pretty hot in my garage, summertime, Arizona. So we're going to go off this right here, 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And so it would just climb and climb and climb until, so the pressure relief valves would be right around here, around 5. So that's when you start looking like Paul Walker right there, is when it hits that normal temperature. And so this is what we can focus in on. So we know that number 17 right here, this is the high side, the discharge right here, and the refrigerant flows through the system just like this right here, as you see right here. And so on this is it going crazy high. If it's flowing right here, I suspect this is the issue, the thermostatic expansion valve, the TXV valve. And the reason is it's showing also that, so the low pressure reading will be normal to high if restriction is downstream. So the low pressure, that was normal. Low pressure will be taken near the compressor. Let's see, low pressure will be low. So the low pressure was normal. So it's downstream. So I'm thinking it's right here. Another reason is that, so again, it's just showing you what we're talking about here, TXV valves. So, all right. So let's look at this, the refrigerant cycle. So during stabilized condition, when the AC is shut down, the refrigerant pressures are equal throughout the system. So one thing I noticed is that when I put my gauges on, the pressures would never equalize, or would take forever to equalize, meaning that with one gauge was way high, one gauge was low, it wouldn't come down, it wouldn't equalize out. So we know that the TXV provides the orifice, which is a restriction in the refrigerant system and separates the high and low pressure of the AC. So if we know it's not equalizing, then TXV is probably the culprit. I'm just gonna do that.
So what might be confusing is that this is the high side, and the high side fills into here. So this is the high side input. Even though, but on the adapter, the high side has the bigger one, so that it looks like this shouldn't be the high side, but this is the high side. It feeds into here. So I think the clog's here. And if you look into there, it's closed. I do know that. I'll do a little unboxing here. So this is what I pulled off the car. So this is, I went to Napa. Oh, cool. So it looks like the Napa one, they're going to give you some new seals. So every time you always want to make sure you place all the seals. I had extra laying around anyways, just in case. And there was a YouTuber, I was searching around, and it looks like what he said is how to check if this is good or not without any tools. And he said what you can do is you just put your lips up to it. So let's see, this is a new one. This is the old one. You could take this stud out. I'm just gonna leave it on there, I suppose. Just, you only live once. I tried to clean this coolant out the best I could. I'll just make sure I wash this off when I... It's probably, I think this valve's okay. Maybe it is. I don't think it is this valve. So there's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 seals. So I'm going to take all these seals off. That's number 1. That's number 2. That's number 3. That's 4. So, it's number 4. Number 3. Number 2. Number 1. This is the right size, but I gotta get the stud down on here, so and tighten it, and so 3/16. And actually, no, that's tight enough. I'm not gonna get too tight. I didn't see any specifications to what the tighten is up to, so we're just gonna snug it up, boys. Let's get it done. Get it right, get it tight. It's pretty snug. Pretty snug. Just gonna check back again. Pretty good. This goes to 133 inch-pounds, which is about, I think it's about foot-pounds, like a 10 foot-pounds. So it's not a lot. You don't have to tighten this up too much, but so now we're going to run a vacuum on the system. So first thing we need to do, we need to connect the R134A manifold gauge set to the low side. And the high side. I'm going to connect the yellow to the suction port. We're going to open this up. And these are open. Open, open. That's open. I'm going to turn on the vacuum pump. So we're going to turn on the vacuum pump and evacuate the system until the low pressure gauge reads at least 99.4 kPa, which is 29.5 inch Hg of vacuum, and as close as 101.1 kPa, 30 inch Hg as possible. So let's take a look. So we're just going to let this run for 45 minutes. Alright, it's been 45 minutes, so we're just going to close up this one and close up this one. And then we're going to turn the pump off.
So, replaced the TXV valve, and the issue still is ongoing. So, fortunately, that wasn't it. I was pretty sure it was, so we consulted the workshop manual. Did find that on the high pressure side, if it's high and the clutch is cycling, the manual's saying check the condenser, inadequate airflow. So I did check the condenser. On the initial inspection, it looked okay, no leaks or anything like that. It looked almost new, honestly. That's why I didn't really poke around too much over there. But I did notice that when I did turn on the engine and I called for the AC, the fan on the condenser would never turn on. So perhaps this has been an ongoing issue. The fan has just not been getting the cooling it needs over the condenser, which has caused premature wear. So that's what my theory is and what the problem is on this. So I bought a new fan and I bought a new condenser, and I'm going to replace them, and hopefully this fixes it.
The fan has stopped, as you can see. See that? The fan is not going, so let's look on the computer. That's what the computer's saying. It's saying 2.26%. If I turn the AC on,
So it looks like the fan's suddenly all working all of a sudden. I think I'm still going to replace it just in case because I already bought it. So as you can see, now look at that. It's going all the way up. I turned the AC on. Pressure's rising. Look at that. It's going up to 20%. 18%. Oh, wait. Nope. Now it's not spinning. Should be spinning, but it's not. Let's kick off this thing. Let's kick it off. Oh, see, now it should be 30%. 30%. It's drawing it. So don't try this at home. Oh, see? Now it's going. So we got the condenser and then we got the fan. We'll just open these bad boys up. Got a penguin on it, so you know it's going to be cold. Disconnect the mass airflow sensor electrical connector. A little red tabby thing pops up, and then little red tabby comes up. Just that something. Detach all the wiring harnesses from the cooling fan shroud. There's one right here. Oh, here. One. Where'd that one go? Two. There's a harness right here too. That's 5. Okay. That's off. Might as well just disconnect this one too on the back. The back right here, little tabby. Okay. Now that we got the splash guard out of the way, this is a transmission fluid cooler tube retainer clips you need to take out right here. Whoa, that's like scraped up right there. There you go. There's one. Right.
Alright, just snap that freaking thing off. Whatever. Dude. Just ripping this whole thing off. There's probably a better way to take this thing out, but... Press that in, right? Yeah. There, pops right out. Out she comes. Yeah, it's good enough, huh? Oh, I don't need to get that hose out of the way, do I? Oh, shiesty. Alright. Just wiggle woggle. What is this? Okay. There she is. 8mm. I'm gonna take off these radiator bracket bolts, are 10mm. There's one down here too. Alright, next thing we need to do is get the condenser manifold pin type retainer. It's this pin right here. It's right there. This is what the condenser manifold pin type retainer looks like. And I think I took it out the wrong way. I think you're supposed to get this lip off first. See, this is retractable. See, like that. Detach condenser core from the radiator. What do you mean? Detach condenser core. Detach the two condenser core retaining clips and detach the condenser core from the radiator. So I had a tough time finding where this clip was. Oh, get underneath the vehicle. Oh man. I think in that clip right here. I'm shining a light right here. Actually, you know what? There. Right there. I think that's the clip right there.
Ooh-wee.
You take your old seals off.
Sorry for the computer, but we need to get PAG, refrigerant compressor oil, R134A systems, YN12 Delta, specification WSH M1C231B. And then also I've decided to 2 fluid ounces, add directly to condenser core inlet. Or you could inject it when you're charging on the low side, but I'm going to take it out and decide I'm going to put it into the core inlet.
So I'm trying to demonstrate how it's not fitting up flush. The bottom one's okay. Just the top one. Can't really get in there too well. There.
I poured 2 ounces of PAG oil into there. Now put this in here. Do that side.
And then just try to do the same over here. Push it on that side.
I couldn't find anything in the workshop manual about how much the air conditioner should be reducing the temperature in relationship to the ambient air. I did find a website that just says, generally speaking, it should be about a 35-degree difference.
Here we are, I'm inside my garage and we're idling max AC, and right now, as you can see, about 65 degrees. We're gonna go for a little drive and see what happens. I went out, picked up my pizza, idling in the garage again. It's right a little bit above 60. Feels pretty cool, but again, it's like 110 degrees right now, so I'm satisfied with this.
Let's go over what I spent on this project. So the fan was 140, the condenser 90, TXV 36, PAG oil 25, and R134A was about 10 bucks. So it's $300 spent versus I looked up what this might have cost on these two websites. One was Repair Pal, the other was Your Mechanic. So using the average savings would be about $952 of potentially saved by doing it myself. If you want to give me a donation, Bitcoin address is below.